Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Yene Nava, and I'm with the Housing Trust Silicon Valley. And thank you, Juan, for having me. And before I talk about our accessory dwelling unit program, let me tell a little bit about my organization. So we're actually local here in downtown San Jose. We're a community development financial institution. All that means is that we're a nonprofit, and we help build affordable housing in the greater Bay Area. So we actually cover 13 counties where we our footprint of all of our programs. And as the slide shows, we actually serve a lot of different people. We serve the homeless. We provide grants for those that homeless that are coming out and are looking for security deposits, so we give grants for those. We also have first-time home buyer programs for middle income first-time home buyers. We have a couple different programs actually, one to help you with down payment, and then one to actually purchase the home. We also have, and then we're developing a new program, which is the ADU, which I will talk to you about a little bit later on. And we have internally, we have a lot of financial expertise. We have a lot of partners, so that all of every single dollar still counts towards affordable housing. And our impact to date, we've been around for a while. So since 2000, we've invested $171 million in the Greater Bay Area to go towards 30,000 affordable units, and this has come in a lot of different ways. One of the things that we do, aside from home ownership and helping previously homeless people and individuals and families, is that we also provide multi-family financing, so that those that are building, developers that are building affordable housing can use it towards acquisition, pre-development costs, and things like that. So we have a huge fund. We have two funds for that. And I covered this already. All right, why it matters, what we do is, as most of you know, this is one of the most expensive cities and areas in the country. The current generation right now has to save, it's estimated that they have to save for 20 years before they can put a down payment on a house. And our average monthly rent right now for a 2-bedroom in San Jose is $2,500. So that's why affordable housing matters, and that's why what we do at our firm matters. I'm sorry, you want me to speak louder? Okay, I'll try. Oh, okay.
And keep it slower.
Okay, gotcha, thank you. All right, so I'm really here to talk to you about, it's called Small House Big Impact Program. And this is an accessory dwelling unit pilot program that we're doing. And what accessory dwelling unit means is what Juan was trying to explain earlier, that it's secondary unit, meaning if you have a primary home and you want to build a secondary unit, that's what we're trying to help homeowners do. So, and the secondary unit comes in a lot of different structural forms. You can do it detached. You can put it. You can convert your garage. You can add it to your primary home. So there's different structural ways, and then depending on the size of your lot, you'll be eligible for that. And so, what our program wants to do, well, first of all, we have a grant that's helping us, like a seed money to helping us develop this program. So this is all completely under development right now. But the idea is to put together workshops to help people walk you through the process. And these workshops are going to be led by ADU practitioners. So I've assembled a group of builders and architects and land use consultants and lenders, so that they can be part of this workshop and really be able to, based on their ground knowledge, be able to walk homeowners through, how do you get this done? What are the first steps to completing this process if you want to build one? I'm also going to put together a community resource webpage that we will host on our own webpage, and then I'll talk a little bit about the financial assistance program that we're putting together. When you go to the workshop, our practitioners, this is where they're going to help you answer, right? Can I build one? How do I put a team together? Meaning, do I need a designer? What are the steps to go through the process, the city process? Who do I talk to? So really, they're going to help you figure all that out. Also, how to bid out a project, right, to a general contractor. How to manage it during construction, and then at the end, of course, the big question is, how do I pay for it? So we're going to have lenders walking you through the process, and what are your options based on your background as a borrower. And then the last module will have somebody talking about, okay, I'm a landlord now, what do I need to do? Well, you need to know about fair housing law, you need to know about leasing, how to market, renters, rules. So we'll walk you through all those things. The community resource page that we're going to put together is going to include online tools like a calculator, monthly articles, and then as our workshop participants start to develop the ADUs, we want to start featuring their accessory dwelling units, talk about what vendors they recommend, and that way. And then also we'll have a Q&A platform where the different users can start talking to each other and kind of helping each other out to make recommendations, or maybe who they talk to at the city, things like that. So our 3-tier financial assistance program, like I said, we have a grant, and this is what we're using to put this pilot program together. We are going to utilize that grant to leverage more money so our pool can grow and we're able to lend and grant money out. The idea right now that's under development is have a 3-step process where we will be able to provide grants that will be so that a consultant can go out and do a site analysis. So the first thing you need to know if you're thinking about doing one is, can you do one on your site? So this consultant will actually do the analysis for you. And then the second part is, we found that a lot of people get really excited about building and they go out and get a designer and then they go through the city process. Then they get stuck when they realize how much it actually costs to pull a building permit, right? But I know that he was trying to pull his permit and it was a ton of money, right? And he realized, oh, okay, maybe a loan would really be helpful. And really, there's a lot of people with that same barrier that it's just a lot of money to pull a permit and then also pay fees. There's a lot of impact fees involved. You got to pay park fees and school fees and all these other random little fees that add up. So what we're trying to develop is a product. Well, we will give you a low interest loan, a deferred loan for $20,000 so that you can get past that barrier. And then we're also developing an additional lending product to do a gap financing. So maybe you do have some cash and you're able to go to your bank and maybe get an equity loan, but you're still missing a portion to help you finish paying for that construction grant. So that's where our money would come in. Again, low interest and deferred, or maybe you need the whole thing to be financed, right? Because maybe you're not a prime home buyer. A prime home buyer is somebody with high income, perfect credit score, all these things that will get you, a really great loan. So maybe you're not that, but you have a lot of equity in your home. And so our program is not trying to solve how does everybody can get a loan for an ADU. All we're trying to do is extend that opportunity out for the non-prime homeowners, right? So we're just trying to extend the opportunity because an ADU, actually there's a lot of benefits to it, right? If you can build an ADU in your backyard, it actually functions as a multi-generational unit where you can house, maybe your older kids or maybe your older parents, and then you can rent it out. Or maybe, as you get older and your kids move away, maybe you want to downsize into it and rent out your larger primary home. So it has a lot of functions, and at the end of the day, it can help you build wealth for yourself. So that's what we found, that it's really important. Not only does it add units to a market where there aren't a lot of units, but it also helps the homeowner themselves. And so we see it as a really positive program, and this is why we're trying to develop. Right now, we're still working on things. We're going to announce our workshops that they're going to start in the fall of this year, and we'll make an announcement sometime next month. So if you want to know about future program updates, if I have an interest list that you can put your email, then I can send you any updates. And our website is here. It's also on some of the flyers that are going around, but our website is housingtrustsv.org. And then you go to programs, and the first program there is called Accessory Dwelling Unit. So you can find the interest list there and submit your email, and that way when we announce the workshops and the dates, and if you want to sign up for it, I'll go ahead and let you know there. Can I answer any questions?
When is this ready to go? Are you ready to start now?
No, it's currently under development. And that's why I'm asking people if they want more information of when it's going to start, if they can go to our website and submit your email.
Like half a year from now? A year from now?
No, it's going to start in the fall, in September.
And then my next thing is, how are you going to bring it out? Are you going to be in the Mercury News? Are you going to be on Channel 7, 5, whatever channel? people watch?
We will certainly reach out to the media and do a press release for it. Yeah, we can certainly do that. We're also pretty active. Our organization's pretty active on social media, so we try to hit all the platforms, Facebook, Twitter, whatever it is, and then we'll reach out to some of the council offices to also help us get the word out. In fact, District 9 is actually sponsoring our focus group. We're kind of doing like a practice run next month, and they're actually sponsoring that event. So we'll try to get it out as best as we can. Yeah. Yes.
So this Housing Trust Silicon Valley is like a 9 Bay Area County nonprofit thing, right?
Not a 9 Bay Area. We're just a nonprofit that serves the 13 counties in the Greater Bay Area.
I saw that there were some California incentives also for ADUs. Is that true? Some
what?
statewide incentives?
So the Senator Wachowski, he sponsored a bill like in 2016 that became in effect in 2017 that lessened the restrictions, like the requirements across the state, and so now every city adopts them, and then they can decide to be less restrictive than kind of like the bar that he set. And that's really what gave impetus to building ADUs or accessory dwelling units.
So has San Jose gotten more or less restrictive since that bill?
The current zoning is kind of halfway. It's not the most restrictive, not the least, but recently the planning department did a whole study and they did public outreach, and they made recommendations to the planning commission a couple of weeks ago to make it less restrictive. A lot of advocates believe they can still do more, but it's certainly a step in a really good direction, and it's actually going to City Council on June 5th. So if you're interested, I would definitely want to go.
I was just going to add to that, but it's certainly less restrictive now than it was in the past. So for example, disclaimer, I started the process when I heard about it, and my property would not originally have qualified for an ADU, but because of the changes, I do now qualify, and the city has parameters that they will help you with through their workshops. In my case, I qualified for a 600 square foot unit. I decided I want it detached. I don't want it attached to my house. One of the questions is, what about parking? In my case, because I live within a half mile of a light rail station, I am exempted from providing parking because they can use public transit. And so there are exemptions to parking. You don't always need to provide a parking space. But they'll address that during the workshop.
Right, exactly. And if you have an urgent need to, want to start your process now, don't wait for a workshop by any means. We're a tool, we're there to help, but you could just go down to the city. And so if you want to go down to the city of San Jose, you just go to the first floor, take a number, talk to a planner, and it doesn't cost anything to talk to them.
Continuing on that vein, I know that we need more housing, and I know it might be appropriate in some neighborhoods that maybe don't have parking problems, but for many of us, we do have parking problems, we have light issues. Will part of your program have an educational component to tell people how to be good neighbors in terms of adding volume?
Well, a part of our program, we want to encourage people to talk to their neighbors as soon as they start thinking about building, especially because you want to build one that kind of goes along with the community look and feel, and you want to and if you start construction on one, right, that's can be noisy for a few months, and you want to make sure that your neighbors know. So we are starting that conversation. And then the very last module of our workshop that's going to address as a landlord, what do I need to know? One of the things that we're going to talk about is tenant rules. So we'll do our best. Yes.
Is this for only for the city of San Jose or the county?
Well, every city is passing their own ordinance, and right now our funding, we're kicking off our program in San Jose, and then as the program develops and we get it all dialed in and we start to partner with other cities, and then we'll start to expand the program. But right now we really just want to concentrate in San Jose and get that right before we start expanding.
So I live in San Jose, but I'm in the county.
Unincorporated property.
Okay. Yeah.
So it still applies to the.
Well, anybody can come to our workshops, for sure. And then for funding right now, we're gonna prioritize San Jose residents, but anybody could come to a workshop for educational purposes. And then for you being an unincorporated, and then you'd have to look at the county's website to find out what those development standards are, which are gonna be different than any other jurisdiction. Yeah, every jurisdiction has its, different rules and requirements. Yes?
Is this only for permanent structures, or is it also going to address the tiny houses that are mobile?
I missed your first part of the question.
Is this only for permanent structures?
We're advocating, because we advocate affordable housing, permanent housing, we're only advocating for permanent structures. And actually, my understanding is that the city of San Jose does not allow tiny homes on wheels.
Yes, that's why I'm here.
Okay.
Why not?
I don't know, actually.
The rest of the
Well,
world
it would be
doesn't.
like a mobile home, right? I mean, they're semi-permanent.
Yeah.
You take the wheels off if they got less.
Yeah, I don't know actually the reasoning why they don't support,
We have to
tiny
change the
homes
planning
on wheels.
Commissioner, whoever's in
Yeah,
charge of that.
yeah, if I were you, I'd talk to them, it's still a form of affordable housing.
I'm
so.
a part of everything on this subject.
Who did you email?
Sam McCarter.
Or you want to receiving from?
Oh, yeah.
Sir?
It's next time I was.
Has the city already changed the municipal code to allow this stuff, or is it in the works changing the code?
So it's been on the books for a really long time, but it was really restrictive. And then over the last several years, it's becoming less and less restrictive.
So you can convert a garage now?
Yes.
For a few years you could, then they stopped it, they said no more garage conversion. So now you can convert a garage over again.
Right. So long as you meet their requirements. So the main requirement right now is that your lot needs to be at least 5,445 square feet. And then there's a lot of other requirements that you really need to look. That's just like the first one that you gotta look at. You gotta look that you have certain setbacks, where you're located, how much landscape you have in the front, and then how much open space you have in your backyard. So there's a lot of different things that you need to look at to make sure that your site qualifies. But generally speaking, yes, if you kind of meet those requirements, you can convert a garage. And the new the recommendations that the planning department is making is that they want to allow people to put in a unit on top of a garage, where that's not allowed right now. So they want to allow a second story, and I think that's really great. That's fine.
I was just gonna add more information. So as she pointed out, you can go down to City Hall and see if you qualify for free. They do have a form
right.
that you complete, and it's got all of the requirements. And so, for example, this gentleman just asked, what if there's a public bus station? And so I'll just read this first paragraph about exemption from parking. The secondary dwelling is located within 1/2 mile of or has a path of travel that is always publicly accessible to a site containing the existing public rail transit station, so within 1/2 mile of the light rail, or at least one public bus route. So I'm saying there's a bus stop with a frequency of service interval of 15 minutes or less during the morning and afternoon peak commute periods. That's just one of the exemptions. There are other exemptions. There's a lot of information on this form. For example, it tells you that if your lot is 10,000 square feet or more, you could build an 800 square foot unit. If it's 9,000 to 10,000 square feet, you could build 650 square feet. In my case, if it's less than 9,000 square feet, you could build a 600 square foot unit. There are other criteria, as she mentioned, and I know that you're going to cover it as part of your program, as part of the first step.
Right. And like one of the other items that their planning department's taking to city council on the 5th is that they want to allow an increase in the square footage of the accessory dwelling unit. Yeah, they're just going to increase it a little bit. I think it's like for the first part would be, well, first of all, they want to allow smaller lots to be eligible. So if your lot is 3,000 square feet, and then you can look at the criteria to see if your eligibility, but also instead of 500, they want to increase it to 600 square feet. So again, they're trying to make it less restrictive.
And then your program will incorporate the new criteria?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So.
I was fortunate, I had a lot of people help me. And so just certain things like helping people with housing are important to me. And I just say that because for some people there's a stigma to adding a secondary unit. And And if there is, I just recommend looking around and seeing how people less fortunate live, and knowing that you could help people like that. Okay.
I just want to add a few other things. You know, we mentioned cost for ADUs. They are expensive, but there's some companies out there that are building modular homes, pre-made. I'm going to give you two contacts that you can look into. One of them is Factory OS. I was at a conference 2 weeks ago in Sacramento and heard these people speak. They say that they could build these units 20% cheaper and 40% faster. And the reason is because these are already made homes that the city of San Jose will pre-approve, so you don't need to go through all the different, inspections that you would if you were building it from scratch with the foundation up. And they basically roll up next to your street with a crane and they plop it down and they just make it work. It's really neat. Google signed up with these guys. They're going to build a 300-unit living structure for them. And they're focusing a lot of energy right now on ADUs as well. And their main goal is to help, create more homes. If you want something fancier, there's another company called connect-homes.com. Those guys have really, really nice units, and obviously you're going to pay a little bit more. You could drive down to Palo Alto and see some of these modular.
Yeah, that's a good point, thank you, that the cost of ADUs really range depending on what you want to build. So for a detached 500 square foot wood frame one, I've heard it's upwards in the $250,000. But you could do a garage conversion for $60,000, $70,000. You could do a modular or even a container home for $100,000, and obviously that takes in a matter of a few weeks versus maybe 8 months. So kind of depending on what you want and maybe what your purpose is for, is how you want to invest your money.
Somebody wondered what the second company you mentioned was?
Connect-homes. If you just Google Connect Space Homes, you'll see it. It says prefab homes. They have a lot of pictures. It's pretty amazing what they can do.
Yeah. And there's a lot of these modular companies out there. My advice, we're not advocating one or the other. My advice is when you talk to them, make sure they've done one already. Make sure that there's one that you can see. There's a lot of startup ones right now, and you just don't know which ones are going to fail and which ones are going to succeed. That's my only advice. Yes?
How about the garages that are already converted and the ADUs that are out there that don't have permits? Is there going to be a pathway to bring those to code and get them permitted?
Senator Wojciechowski is trying. He's trying to, the current draft bill that he's trying to get to the Senate wants to include amnesty.
Okay.
Yeah, and basically the amnesty says you can legalize your unit, but you have to bring it up to code, to the 2007 building code that is a little bit less restrictive to the existing one, which is a 2013 code. And so he's trying to help, that way, because it'll be like really expensive to get it up to the current code. I mean, basically it would be a tear down, right?
Right.
So he's trying to help in that sense. Right now, from what I'm hearing, is that since they're legal in San Jose, they're considered legal but non-conforming because they're not up to code and don't have permits. And so really, if you're planning to do that now before the law passes, you just need to go and talk to well, first of all, I think you probably need to go to find a general contractor, walk you through it, see what kind of things that you need to update, and then you need to go to the city and kind of get those permits to get that going, right?
You know what, guys? The key on that is really not Wojciechowski. He's at the state level. He can write all the bills he wants, but the cities can make it real difficult to follow those laws because they could just throw in all this other garbage, and that's what a lot of cities are doing, unfortunately. So what you guys should all do is go to the city council and talk to your city council members at the meetings, right? They meet on Tuesdays. You go up there and say, look, man, I want to make sure we offer more housing. I've got something, but I'm concerned because you guys have all these rules and regulations. What can we do to work together, right? Make it easy for us to make this happen.
Actually, I would contact them before the meeting. I mean, you could always speak at the meeting,
Yeah.
but I think it's a lot of times it's more conducive to just have a conversation prior to the meeting.
But that's where the action is happening, guys. At the state level, they're trying really hard, but I've talked to those guys. I was there for a whole week. We need to get down to the local level because that's where it happens, at the planning department and all of that sort of stuff, just like you said.
Do you know why they have all those rules against it? Who's behind it? Who doesn't want that?
Okay, guys, it's all about safety, right? There's a cost. It's a safety thing, right? Any new building requires sprinklers That's not a cheap thing to do, right? So when she mentioned using 2003 rules versus 2013, if you have a converted garage and you need to put sprinklers in there, that's gonna be cost prohibitive for most people, right? So it's things like that. So, you know, it's a give or take.
Question on the ADU, the unit for like in the property in the back. How far away from the fence you have to be, or what's the minimum?
The setbacks?
The setbacks, I don't know by heart, I think, but they're
5 feet.
actually trying to revise that now, so.
I know from the fact it's 20 feet.
They're trying to reduce it, I think, to 5 feet, and that's what's gonna go to city council, on June 5th.
But it's not official.
No.
It'll be in June 5th, that's kind of not paid.
Look, I'm not an expert, I'll qualify by saying that, but it's, from your back lot, mine is approved 5 feet from the fence. It's 5 feet. There are requirements between, because it's attached between my home and this other one, there are requirements depending if you're close to the front sidewalk, right? But the best thing to do is go down there, get this sheet.
5 feet is allowed. I think the new regulation is gonna change to make it a little bit less restrictive than that. You might be able to go a 0 lot line, but then provided you're not up against another wall or building, so that, because like planning sets their requirements, and then fire and building look at it and they have additional requirements, so. Yeah, and I think that's the best advice you could give somebody is to go, you know, if you're really interested, you know, draw out your site, you know, how many feet it is, dimension as well as you can, include all your permanent buildings on it, and then dimension that, like how close you are to your property line. Get this checklist, go down to the city and then talk to a planner. It doesn't cost anything to talk to a planner about it. Once they can kind of use that as a checklist, once they know that, okay, everything's met, and then they'll tell you what the next step is, which is basically, you know, you do a submittal to the building department. You want to get a good designer though to help you with that.
Can you recap the lot size requirement per square footage?
Right now it's 5,445. On June 5th, they want to reduce that to 3,000 square feet.
Okay, so what size home do you build?
Well, there's a lot of requirements, so I don't want to say, yes, you can build a 600. Like, you could build a 500 square foot house right in secondary unit, but there's really more requirements to that. You got to make sure that you have the right setbacks, that you have the parking, that you have all these other things. So I don't want to tell you, go ahead and build.
Do you have to go to court to partition with the neighbor?
No, it's on your same property. You don't have a separate, it's not a separate lot, it's within the same lot.
No, I think what he's asking is, do we have to get permission from the
Permission from the neighbors?
Oh, you don't have to get permission. You want to talk to them to let them know what's going on, especially if you're going to start construction,
So
but
you
you don't
just
need
let them
permission.
acknowledge that what you're doing, and that's it? You
Right,
don't
right.
need
The
to-
permits are ministerial, they're not public.
Are you guys gonna develop a spreadsheet that allows people that don't know anything about any of these things to kind of walk them through like a checklist? Because the city doesn't have it, and it's really frustrating when you go talk to the city.
Yeah, we're developing a couple of spreadsheets to help homeowners. So one is going to be how to do an estimate, right? We're going to give you, these are all the possible uses that you need to account for in your estimate. So like the construction cost, you need to pay insurance to the general contractor. You need to pay all your permit fees. So we're going to try to give you all that, and then you go and do your homework and make those calls and find out how much everything costs, and then that way you can start figuring out, okay, how much is, this unit going to cost me? 200, 250,000, whatever it is, and you can start thinking about your resources. And then when we, as part of the workshop, when we start talking about financing, the lender that I'm working with is developing also another spreadsheet so he can talk about, okay, if it costs this much and your rents are this much and these are your expenses, this is how much your cash flow is going to be, and start helping you think of it that way. So we are trying to develop some tools for homeowners.
Is there like can we get the money just to finance it out just for that particular property add-on, or we have to get the loan paperwork with? That's on us.
To get the loan, well, we want to help you figure out how to do that. We want to at least create a path for you on what you need to do. And the financing that we're going to have available is so that we can help more of the, what they call a non-prime homeowner who maybe has some equity, not the best credit,
Are those low interest loans or
They're gonna be low interest loans, deferred loans up until you have a tenant in place, and then that's when you'll start paying back. Right, so there's gonna be a deferment on it. And also because we're advocates of affordable housing, they are gonna have an affordability restriction that either the homeowner or the future tenant will have to be low to moderate income. And low to moderate income means 60 to 120% of the median income. And if you think about it, 100% right now, I think it's like 105,000, right? So you can be a single person making $56,000 and qualify, or two people making $100,000 or one. So anyways, yeah. So we're trying to build in flexibility. We're trying not to be another barrier. Yes.
I have two questions. First of all, is it property tax? You have to pay extra property tax on that.
Well, because you're making an improvement on your site, so yes,
They're
that.
separate, right?
Right.
They're separate.
Right.
Is that extra, is that like a living extra house?
Right, anytime
they
you
should
make
pay
any
for
sort of
property.
improvement to your home, it's gonna increase your taxes on that improvement.
Okay, and another thing, there are houses out there without water in the back, and they're renting people in the back, so the one in the front is, you have to share with the one in the back. Is that even allowed, or
Well,
they should be paying property tax on both homes if that's happening?
Well, yeah, they should have water. So if they don't have water, it's illegal. And so when you build a secondary unit in the back, you want to connect all your utilities to the primary home. You could if you want to go all the way out to the street, but you're just adding another $20,000 to your cost. So it's just easier to trench. Do you have a different experience?
No. I had a different question.
Oh.
So I just want to make sure I understand. Here's what I know from my experience. You will have another address for the secondary unit.
Correct.
So they're going to have their own address. That's good. They get their mail. You guys don't mix your mail, etc. But then her question, I thought, was, will you have a second property tax bill? And I don't think so. You're going to have one tax bill.
Correct.
That might go up based on the value of the property.
Correct.
No, it will go up.
Right.
It's not gonna be my,
It's
it'll go
not
up.
yet.
What about the utility and the water? It's just one bill?
You have an option. The path I'm pursuing is I want their own meter so they know how much they would use and so they can conserve accordingly. But you could choose to just have them tap into yours and then you pay the bill.
Right.
So that's optional. You definitely they need their own street address. The utilities can be shared.
Okay, there's a question back there.
What is the first step to get the process started?
I would, what we were saying earlier, draw out on a piece of paper your lot, dimension it, include all of your existing permanent buildings on it, dimension those from your property line. Go online or go down to the city and get this checklist that they have, and then go talk to a planner, and that way they can explain everything to you. Or if you can wait till September, you can come to my workshop.
Oh, you have another workshop?
We're gonna have a workshop in September. I still need to schedule it. We'll make that announcement in June. And so that's why I'm asking folks that if you're interested, go onto our website, put your name in our interest list, and that way I'll be able to communicate with you and let you know when those start.
So this is like a preview or an introduction, and then you're gonna have an actual workshop and you outline the steps.
Right.
So yeah, that's the best thing to do. And let me just give you a tip in case it still applies. So the drawing for the city doesn't have to be professional, right? They said you could use a pencil.
Oh, they have a map that shows
They have the
everything.
actual
They
map,
can pull
so
it
they
up and
know
see
everything.
everything.
So once you draw it, they will tell you if they think you qualify and what you qualify for. You don't have to spend a lot of money to do that, unless you want to.
Right, you
What
can
about
go to
the property in the unincorporated area? Where do I go?
and then you need to go to the county of Santa Clara.
70 West Heading at the 7th floor. Talk to plan, you just
Yeah,
sign your
you
name.
can go on their website. They have a whole webpage dedicated to accessory dwelling units or secondary units.
They're easier to work with, by the way. I've worked with the city and the county. I'd rather work with the county.
All right.
But that's
So-
just my preference.
So how do they sign up for your list? You said you have an interest list and.
Right,
sign
go
up.
to our website, is housingtrustsv.org, and then you go to, there's all these tabs, you go to programs, and then the first one there is accessory dwelling units. And then there's a little bit of information about what they are. And if you scroll over at the bottom, it's a little fillable form. You put your email there, and that's what I use to communicate. So once I'm able to schedule the workshop, which I'm aiming for September, I will let you know, and I'm hoping to be able to do that sometime in June. Schedule it in June, and that way.
I have it up
That is
right
the
here if
website.
you guys want to sign up with my computer, okay?
That is the website, and there, actually, I have flyers, a few flyers. It's on there too, as well. Yeah. Is there a question?
All right.
Can what? It can go on top of an existing accessory building, like a garage. It depends, you probably need to do the engineering, I mean, it probably, yeah. Right. Yes.
Did you say it can go on?
A contractor, he had built a detached, unit on the property. Is there, but he didn't go through the full permit process, what do you have to do to get that up to?
Up to code. I would first talk to a general contractor, find out what you need to do to get it up to code, and then go talk to the city about pulling a permit for it.
He said he did it to code and everything.
Uh-huh.
But, so I have to go through that again, you just get a contract?
So he built it to code, but he didn't get permits for
Yeah,
it?
he didn't do the
Oh,
process.
yeah, he needs to go talk to building about the building department about how to process that,
Talk
yeah.
to another contractor and do it.
Just beware, because they might ask you to tear it down if you
Yeah.
didn't do it right, or the setbacks aren't set.
Right, I'm hearing that sometimes the building department, in order to confirm what you have out there, they're actually called out code enforcement, and then they'll make kind of an inventory of what's code, what's out of code and not in code. And so that's kind of harsh, because they'll charge you for that code enforcement's time when they go out there. So that's why my advice
Or they
is,
can tell you
talk
to
to,
knock
if
it
you
down.
know a general contractor, and they can do kind of the inventory for you, and we can just present it, serve it up to building, you might save yourself a little bit of time and money.
Exactly.